right now.
Okay. We're recording.
Okay, so what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna go and get the post-processing. I already have it in this scene or in this project, but I'll show you how to get it. You go to the package manager and you're seeing my package manager, right?
Yep.
Okay, so in the Unity registry, I believe it is, you come down and you would find it. Where is it here? Post-processing right here. Okay, and I have it in already, so it says to remove. So you just download it into your project. Okay, and that's the first. This is the reason why we were having problems before with some of the other things already having post-processing in it. It was old post-processing. So you would take out that old post-processing, you would come into the package manager, get the new post-processing and add it to your setup. And then you have it here, post-processing. It's already set up and there's editor stuff and utilities and everything. But what you would do, and this should definitely be in this video, you add it to your camera. So here's my main camera.
Would you delete the older one from the main camera as well?
If it's attached to it, yes. Generally, it might not be.
Okay.
So I have this written down. So
but it's going to be in the hierarchy, right? It's the old
yes,
post-processing.
Okay. It'll be in the it'll be attached to the camera in the inspector if it has it. Okay. There is another way to make it where it has setups where you have triggers and stuff, but I'm not going to go over that. So the first thing you want to do is go to the layers area on your camera and create a new layer, because it won't be in there generally, and create a post-processing layer and put it on your camera, which is here. Okay. And then come down and you would add the script post-processing. You go to add a component and type in post, and you could type in post-processing and you see it's got a post-processing layer and a post-processing volume. You're going to want to put the layer in and you're going to want to put a volume in. Okay. So the post-processing layer is just so that it's there. It has this trigger for the main camera. If that's not on it, you have to drag that in. It asks for a layer here.
But what if you're using the first person control?
It's the same thing. It would be the first person camera.
But you're adding two layers. You're adding a layer to the camera, and then you're adding another layer component.
Right. And then down here under the post-processing, this is another thing. It's kind of it's like a script that you add onto it, called post-processing layer. And you have to set this layer here to post-processing. Now, right here, generally this part right here, it should already be there, but if it's not, then you would if you have a first person controller, you would go and find the camera and drop it into it. Okay, but it's got this here, which means it's looking for the actual camera that it's attached to. Then you add a post-processing volume to it. Okay, so you would do the same thing, add component, type in post-processing, add the volume. Now, with the volume, what happens is this is all empty and you need a profile. So you can either some setups will have profiles already set up, or you create a new one and let's see, I can create a new one and it probably already has it. Oh, here's a new one. So it added a new one to it. Okay. And let me see what it says. So it's got different volumes here, or camera profile. And I guess you could, I don't know why it didn't ask me what I wanted to name it, but I can find it and rename it. So what then you do is it has this little button down here called add effect. Okay. So if you look at this right now, my game, it should have nothing on it. there's nothing going on here. I don't have any effects on this at all. Okay. So I'll add an effect. You go to Unity and these are all the different effects. You've got ambient occlusion, auto exposure, bloom, chromatic aberration, color grading, depth of field, grain, lens distortion, motion blur, screen space reflections, and vignette. Okay. So first thing I'll do is I'll add an ambient occlusion. It'll add it to it. And it's either on or off. And I'm not sure if this is, I think that's on, and I'll select all. And I can change the ambient occlusion, which is like, it messes with the shadows and stuff like that. So I can change the intensity onto it and the thickness modifier. And I can even change the color if I want. So I can give it like a reddish color. Now I should be doing it
These
here.
are baked in, right, when you publish, so you don't have to worry about
Right.
frame rates and CPU.
Yeah, is it off? Let's see, there we go. Okay. So
Yeah.
see, so
Yeah.
it was already on when I clicked it on. Now see how my shadows change colors here?
Yeah,
Right?
they're reddish. Yeah.
They're reddish, right? So you can go in and you can change the amount of your
Yeah.
and the intensity, stuff like
Wow.
that, right? And the thickness of it all. So that's one thing that you can add on to it, right? And I usually do that. I'll add a little bit of that on, and I'll close this up and then go and I'll add another effect. I don't generally use auto exposure myself, but you can add that on. All this stuff you can add on and kind of mess with it and turn it off if you have to. Another thing I end up doing is adding bloom. Turn this on and I'll select all. And the bloom really works well when you have lights and stuff. So let's see if we can see the difference here. The softness, if we bring it up, bring up the intensity on it, and it just changes accordingly when you start messing with some of this stuff. Threshold. It's hard to there. Can you see how the light's changing on that right here? Let me see if I can zoom in on this light a little bit better. Okay, now watch this and the lights in the corners. So if I'm changing the intensity, it's going up and
They're
down.
getting brighter. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's another thing that you can add on to it. And of course, the soft knee messes with it a little bit. See how it's all blown out like that. And you can bring it down and just kind of mess with that kind of stuff to make things look a little bit better. It really does a nice effect with like fire and stuff with your particle effects. Okay. And you can, of course, change the colors on these. I've never really messed with the colors on this.
It affects the entire game though, right?
Yeah, it affects everything that the camera sees. Okay. So the thing about these is this is why I would say go and watch that video, because you don't really have to add a lot to make it look really cool. And he goes through some of this stuff to kind of to show you what it does. Motion blur, could add a little motion blur. Be careful of the motion blur because you can kind of make yourself sick doing that. Turn all this on. And what happens with motion blur is when you're moving your camera around and your character, it blurs out a little bit as you're moving. They talk about that for like your eyes. When you actually move your face, your eyes don't, it's kind of a weird little blur thing that happens before you really focus. And you can kind of do that with this kind of stuff. You have to actually play the game with the motion blur to kind of check that out. A
lot of animation programs include motion blur to make it look more realistic.
Right.
So I think that's one that you want to get your animations looking a little bit more photorealistic.
Yeah.
Add a little bit of motion blur.
Add a tiny bit, right? And then there's like
just
color grading. And with color grading, this is where you can change the color of stuff. Let's turn this on. And you can look, you can change your reds and your blues, right? to make things different colors, change the color of what your world looks like. You can move these things around in here and kind of mess with stuff. So one thing that like, I think how would you do this? Go blue and green and red. There's a way to do this so that you can make it all like black and white more. But you can
turn off
change
all the colors.
Yeah, you could probably turn off all the colors. Maybe that doesn't do much there, but there's a way to set it. I've done it before where I got it to I'm messing with it. And I got it to freaking turn into like a sepia type of color. You change your contrast. See, this is just really, I'm really just trying to make it. There we go. The saturation. I turned the saturation all the way down. Notice it looks black and white now,
Yep.
right? So there's stuff like that that you can do and just get a different feel for your game. Okay. Wow, that kind of looks trippy there. And then you can always turn it on and off if you're not interested in using that part, right? So
How come your camera is looking at the house, but then the
I've got this is my build scene here, and the one down here is the actual game scene. This is how I do this. I always have a window where I have this is where I build everything, and then I have my scene for the actual game. So
I know that, but it looks different. I mean, it was like indoors.
oh, it's because right down in here I've got I built a cave with this one. There's a cave entrance here that goes into
Cool.
an underground, like,
and that's on the main
sci-fi
camera.
thing.
That's on the main camera.
No, he's got a third person controller, right?
Yeah, I've got that. Let me play it and I'll show you real fast. This is on maximize. So this is my third person controller that I've got running. And down here, and I don't know why it didn't set up like that, but down and over here, I have a cave opening. See right there. I've created a cave opening that has a sci-fi thing in it. Okay. Why is it like that? But it's not showing it. I know why. I think I had another new post-processing. That's it, because it's got a different there's different post-processings in this already. It's Aquas new post-processing file. Do I have 2 volumes on this? Let me see. Hold on. There's that one. And it's on that layer. This is probably what's happening is it's finding my other post-processing that I had in there. And so it's not playing that one because I'm not sure. Let's see. See if that'll add it. No. I messed with this, and so it's not exactly how I had it before because I'm adding stuff to it. But so basically you go through, you can mess with this kind of stuff and add it and kind of mess with it with your game. Here's a freaking grain. I could add the grain to it. Intensity, there's a grain. I can change the color, make it black and white. The size can be bigger or smaller. And I don't know if I play this isn't going to have the same post-processing on it. It looks like, yeah, see, it's got a different post-processing setup on it. And I have to remember why.
So this is a scene-based post-processing. So if you created another scene, you could do different processing.
Yes, exactly.
So you could do one for
Exactly.
indoor and one for outdoor. For example.
I see why. There's that one. And then there's this one. I have two different camera. I have 2 different post-processings in here. And the problem that I'm having is that this one is seeing something else. One was my original post-processing and one wasn't. So I don't know why it's not adding the other one onto it. There's got to be a spot here where I missed something. Anyway, that video will show that kind of stuff, what to do with it. And I thought that's kind of weird that it's not putting that one in there. And I don't know why. That's the original one. So if I play this, I'll have the original one. Maybe I have to save it. I don't think so. And then go to this other one that I created, and there's that one. But it's not playing it right for some weird reason. I think it keeps going back. Yeah, see, it went back to the other one, so I'm not sure why that's happening. Anyway, that's really weird. I'll have to look at that. It's the main camera transformation. Drop that in. I don't see if this is gonna be giving me. Why isn't it going to that other one? This is my old one. I've never changed it like that, so that might be part of the reason why I'm having a problem. There's global. No. No. Okay, I added the current one to it. Still not doing it right. So that's just kind of weird. For some reason, it's seeing my old post-processing. Maybe if I save it. I don't think that's going to happen, though. Player follow camera. Nope. Anyway, so of course, this isn't working the way I want it to right now. Because I added something special onto it. Oh, wait a minute. Layer. Did it create a new post-processing file? I think part of the problem is that I didn't create a new post-processing file or something like that. But I'm not exactly sure. Anyway, so that's just something, it's something you can do that will add stuff onto your game. And oops. So I would watch that video, and maybe that was it. I don't think that's it,
Yeah,
though.
it's good to know that there's a possibility like that. I didn't
Yeah.
even know that.
See, this is the old post processing that I have on it, and I can't figure out why it won't switch it over. But that's one of those things that you can do, and add this kind of stuff to it, and it kind of makes your game look better, and makes it look a little more professional, not quite as weird. And I'm just not sure why this won't switch it over. It should have. It should have, but it didn't. But if like I said, I had another one on it, and for some reason it's seeing the old one and it's not seeing the new one, and I don't know why. Cinemachine, maybe it has something to do with Cinemachine, but I don't know why it's doing that. Not on the player follow camera. Anyway, that's just basically how you would set that kind of stuff up. So watch that video if you want to do this. He'll go through it really easily or real quickly, and you just have to add the layer and the volume onto your main camera and set your layer to post processing, and you can start doing that. It's pretty simple. I just don't